The missing key. It was the first day of summer break, and 12-year-old Max Carter was already bored. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, but all Max could think about was how quiet the house was without anything exciting going on. His mom was working from home, his dad was fixing the garage, and his big sister Lila had gone to a friend's house. Max sighed, tossing a baseball into the air and catching it again while lying on the porch swing. "Why can't something interesting happen?" he muttered. As if on cue, a small clink echoed from the side of the porch. Max sat up. Something shiny had fallen through a crack in the floorboard. Curious, he pulled the board up just a little and reached under. His fingers brushed against something cold and metal. He pulled it out. It was an old-fashioned key. Not like a house key or a car key. This one looked like it belonged to a treasure chest, thick, bronze, with a swirling pattern carved into the handle. It was heavy and warm, as if it had been waiting for someone to find it. Max's heart started pounding. Where did this come from? He ran inside, calling out to his mom. "Mom! Look what I found!" She looked up from her laptop. "That's nice, honey. Probably one of Grandpa Joe's old things. You know how he used to collect stuff. Can I look around and see if it opens anything? As long as you don't make a mess," she replied, already typing again. Max started up the stairs. Grandpa Joe had lived with them before he passed away last winter. Max missed him a lot, especially his stories. Grandpa Joe always talked about secret places and hidden treasure, and sometimes Max had even believed him. Maybe this key was part of one of those stories. Max entered Grandpa Joe's old room. The family hadn't touched much since he passed away. His armchair was still by the window, and his books were stacked neatly on the shelf. Max ran his fingers along the desk drawer. Locked. He tried the key. Click. The drawer slid open with a small creak. Inside was a faded leather notebook and a small velvet pouch. Max opened the notebook first. On the first page, in Grandpa Joe's careful handwriting, were the words, "To the one who finds the key, the journey begins." Max's eyes widened. This wasn't just an ordinary key. It was part of something. He flipped through the pages. There were notes, drawings, and strange symbols. A map was folded between the pages, one that didn't match any map Max had seen before. It looked like a layout of their town, but with places that didn't exist anymore, like the old mill, the clock tower, and the hidden cave by Mirror Lake. Max's mind buzzed. Grandpa Joe had always said there were secrets hidden in plain sight. He opened the velvet pouch. Inside was a small compass that didn't point north. "Whoa," Max whispered. He knew he had to find out more. But he couldn't do it alone. Max ran to his neighbor Leo's house. Leo was his best friend, always up for an adventure. He knocked hard on the door. Leo opened it with a grin. "Hey, Max! What's up? You're not going to believe what I found," Max said, holding up the key. "You got a minute?" A few minutes later, Max spread the contents of the drawer out on Leo's porch, the notebook, the compass, and the map. Leo's eyes lit up. "This is amazing! You think your grandpa left this for you?" Max nodded. "And I think there's more to it. Look at this map. Some of these places don't even exist anymore." Leo pointed to one. "The clock tower? That burned down years ago. But what if something's still there?" Max said. "We have to check it out." They grabbed their bikes, packed some snacks, and headed out. The remains of the old clock tower stood at the edge of town, overgrown with weeds. The fire had destroyed most of it, but the base still stood, blackened bricks and rusted metal. Max pulled out the map. "It says something is hidden under the floor." They climbed through the broken fence. Inside, the floor was covered in ash and debris. The compass in Max's hand spun wildly, then pointed toward a patch of cracked tile. He knelt and brushed the dirt away. There was a trapdoor underneath. Leo helped him pull it open. Inside was a narrow tunnel, just big enough for them to crawl through. "Are you sure about this?" Leo asked. Max grinned. "Only one way to find out." They climbed down. The tunnel was damp and cold. Their flashlight beams danced across stone walls and cobwebs. "Look!" Max whispered. Symbols from the notebook were carved into the walls. They followed the compass, which seemed to guide them with confidence. After what felt like forever, they reached a chamber filled with old crates and broken furniture. In the center was a pedestal. Max approached carefully. On top was a small metal box, locked. He held up the key. Click. Inside the box was a note and another key. This one silver and shaped like a bird. Leo read the note aloud. "You've found the first. 3 more will show the way to the final door. Trust your friends. Trust your heart." Max felt a chill. Grandpa Joe had made this, for him. For them. "This is way bigger than I thought," he said. Leo nodded. "We have to keep going." Back home, Max spread out the contents again. The notebook had more pages they hadn't read. Each location marked on the map had a symbol. The clock tower had a gear. Next was the old mill, marked with a water droplet. "The second key is at the mill," Max said. The next morning, they set out. They were joined by Emma, Leo's cousin, who had overheard them talking and begged to come. She was clever and good at solving puzzles. The old mill stood near the river. It had been abandoned for years. The trio climbed inside. A riddle was carved into a beam. "Water flows, the wheel still turns. In its heart the fire burns. Seek the heat that doesn't show. Where cold and current cease to flow." Emma pointed. "That's talking about the furnace room. My dad said mills used to use fire for power, too." They searched the lower levels. Behind a pile of rotted wood, they found a furnace. Inside, wrapped in a cloth, was the second silver key, this one shaped like a flame. The journey continued. Each location tested them. At the hidden cave near Mirror Lake, they had to cross slippery rocks and solve a series of riddles to unlock a stone door. There, they found the third key, shaped like a wave. At every point, Grandpa Joe's notes helped them. It was as if he had left a trail only someone who knew him well could follow. The final location was marked with a heart symbol, a place Max didn't recognize at first. But then he realized. "It's our house," he whispered. Back at home, they studied the notebook again. There was one last page. A drawing of the fireplace in Grandpa Joe's room, with symbols carved into the bricks. They examined it carefully. Behind a loose stone, they found a lock, one shaped for all 3 silver keys. They inserted them. The fireplace rumbled. A hidden compartment opened. Inside was a small box made of wood and gold. Max opened it slowly. Inside was a photograph of Grandpa Joe, smiling. A note lay underneath. "The real treasure isn't gold or silver. It's the adventure, the friends you trust, and the courage to seek the truth. If you've made it this far, then you already have everything you need. But here's a little something more." Under the note was a small gold coin and a folded deed to a piece of land by the lake. Leo gasped. "Is this real?" Emma laughed. "Looks like you're landowners now." Max smiled. "No. We are. All of us." Max, Leo, and Emma spent the rest of the summer fixing up the land by the lake. They made it a secret clubhouse, built a treehouse, and turned the place into a sanctuary for imagination and adventure. They told no one about the keys, not because they wanted to keep it secret, but because some adventures are meant to be remembered quietly, shared only with those who understand. And every time Max looked at the compass or held the gold coin, he remembered Grandpa Joe, not just as a grandfather, but as a storyteller, a dreamer, and a guide. The missing key hadn't just opened doors. It had opened hearts.